long before the pyramids of Tenochtitlan touched the sky, long before blood was offered on obsidian altars, long before men called themselves Aztecs, there was fire in the heavens. The ancestors did not call themselves Aztec. They were the Mexica, wanderers from the north, children of the sky god Huitzilopochtli. But what most never knew, what only the high priest whispered, beneath feathered veils, was that their true origin was not from Earth, but from Chickamaustock, the place of 7 caves. But Chickamaustock was no mythic cavern, it was a gate. And the gods who opened it were not gods at all. They were the Tezcatl, beings of light and fire who descended from the stars in ages when Earth was still young and trembling. The first humans mistook them for divine, and how could they not? The Tezcatl walked through flame unharmed, pulled gold from the mountains with no tools, and spoke in voices that echoed inside the mind. They came not to conquer, but to seed, to ignite the flame of civilization where only stone and hunger existed. They taught 7 tribes, the Nahua lineages, the secrets of farming, counting, building, and sacrifice, not as cruelty, but as exchange. The Tezcatl told them, to receive, you must offer. To build, you must bleed. The stars do not grant power freely. And the people listened. But something went wrong. One of the Tezcatl, a radiant being called Itzcol, began to hunger for more than worship. He demanded not just offerings, but souls. He revealed the dark geometry of sacrifice, how human hearts could fuel machines left behind in the ruins of Chickamaustock. Machines that pulsed like organs and drank blood like nectar. The elders pleaded for balance. The Tezcatl disagreed. And so there was war. Not among men, but among the gods themselves. The skies split open. Fire rained from the heavens. Mountains shook, rivers boiled, and one by one, the Tezcatl disappeared, ascending back into the stars, or descending into the underworld, leaving behind only whispers and stone. But the damage was done. Humanity had seen divinity, and worse, they had tasted power. Generations passed, and the Nahua forgot the faces of the Tezcatl. They carved new names: Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent; Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror; Huitzilopochtli, the sun born from war. They remembered in myth what they had once witnessed in truth. The rituals remained. The pyramids rose. But beneath the temple of the sun in Teotihuacan, something still slept. A remnant. A buried gate. A machine. A heart. And one day it would wake, because the blood never stopped flowing. And it was listening. They called it the Avenue of the Dead, the grand road that cut through Teotihuacan, flanked by temples built not for man, but for something else. For centuries, archaeologists marveled at the precision, the orientation, the impossible scale of the city. Yet none could explain why it was abandoned, who truly built it, or why it whispered like a tomb. Until the digging began. In 2013, beneath the temple of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl's temple scientists uncovered a tunnel. It was not a passage dug by human hands. The walls shimmered with liquid mercury, and round spheres of unknown material lined the path like offerings or censers. But the deeper they went, the less the air belonged to Earth. The soil itself seemed to remember something ancient, something waiting. Among the excavation team was Dr. Elena Uale, a Mexican physicist turned archaeoastronomer. For years, she had studied the celestial alignment of Mesoamerican pyramids. She believed the structures were not just monuments, but receivers tuned to cosmic frequencies. But nothing prepared her for what they found at the tunnel's end. There, buried in obsidian and sealed behind a gold disc carved with fractal symbols, was a chamber shaped like a heart. Not metaphorically, biologically. Pulsing softly, connected to conduits of unknown material, the heart emitted low-frequency vibrations. Instruments failed. Lights dimmed. One worker bled from the nose. Another went blind. Elena didn't run. She listened. The symbols around the chamber weren't purely Aztec. They were older, a blend of Olmec, Toltec, and something non-human. She cross-referenced the patterns with carvings from La Venta, Ixtacalco, even as far as Göbekli Tepe. They matched. It was a global design, a language written by visitors who had walked with early man and vanished into myth. Then one night it pulsed. The heart lit up faint but deliberate, not random. A signal. Elena's instruments picked up bursts of radiation in complex rhythm, as if it were trying to communicate in mathematics. Or music. That's when the dreams began. Not just for Elena, but for everyone in the city. People dreamed of obsidian ships floating above jungles, of fire that spoke, of serpents made of starlight and men with mirrored eyes. Children drew glyphs they had never seen. Tourists fled the site after reporting being watched by invisible presences. The government sealed the site, but it was too late. Something was waking. Something ancient. Not a god, not a demon, but a memory etched in alien machinery, buried in volcanic stone, fed for centuries by ritual and myth. Elena became obsessed. She no longer cared for academic approval. She returned alone, bypassing security with falsified permits. Inside the sealed chamber, she sat beside the heart and placed her hand on its surface, and it spoke. "We gave you life. You gave us blood. The covenant was broken, yet we endured." Elena wept, not from fear, but from recognition. "You have remembered us," it said. "Now you must choose, bury us again, or become us." She asked, voice trembling, "What are you?" And the heart replied, "We are Tezcatl. We are your ancestors. We are your gods." "And your time is almost over," Elena collapsed. She was found 3 days later, dehydrated, delirious, muttering in Nahuatl, a language she had never spoken. She had drawn the map, a design of 12 pyramids across the earth matching the stars, the seasons, and something deeper. A code, a circuit. Teotihuacan was the core. And the heart had begun beating again. Governments scrambled. Satellite scans revealed seismic activity under every ancient pyramid in the network. From Chichen Itza to Giza, from Angkor Wat to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, they were humming. But it was already too late to stop it. The countdown had begun. The glyphs glowed. All over the world on temple stones, ancient pottery, and cliffside carvings, the same symbol reappeared. A mirror ringed by fire, pulsing with invisible energy. It had not been etched by recent hands. It had awakened itself. The Tezcatl were returning, but they were not descending from the sky. They were rising from beneath us. In every region tied to ancient power, Tenochtitlan, Luxor, Mohenjo-Daro, non-Madal seismic anomalies spiked. Electronic interference spread. Night skies shimmered with auroras in places where no auroras should be. People collapsed from shared hallucinations. Others began speaking in extinct tongues. Some remembered things they had never lived. Dr. Elena Yawali had become a conduit. Whatever the heart beneath Teotihuacan had unlocked within her, it wasn't just information, it was identity. Her genome had changed. Microscopic analysis revealed unknown proteins forming in her brain, her neurons firing in impossible synchrony. The Tezcatl had chosen her as their echo. In a hidden chamber beneath Lake Texcoco, where the ruins of Tenochtitlan still slumbered beneath the modern city, Elena stood at the convergence point, a platform older than pyramids, humming with resonance, activated by the glyph embedded in her chest. A vortex opened above the lake. Not a portal in the Hollywood sense, but a tear in memory, a wound in space where forgotten timelines bled through. Figures emerged, not ships, not machines. Beings made of language and frequency, like living equations written in starlight. The Tezcatl, but they did not come as conquerors. They came to finish the covenant. They spoke not in words, but in experiences, waves of memory, crashing into every mind on Earth simultaneously. In that instant, humanity remembered. The gift of fire was a seed of sentience. The pyramids were not tombs, but power nodes, harmonic stabilizers, keeping Earth from fracturing under its own chaotic emotion. Sacrifice was never about death, it was about continuity, about balancing the entropy that the Tezcatl couldn't control alone. Humanity had been their progeny, not their pets. But the covenant had been broken. Wars, greed, and forgetfulness had silenced the Tezcatl for millennia. And now they offered a final choice: return to harmony, become more than what you are, or remain as you are, and face the ending alone. Elena spoke on behalf of Earth, not as queen, not as prophet, but as a thread in the greater tapestry. If we accept, what happens to who we were? The Tezcatl answered as one. You evolve, not into us, but into what comes after us. Not all accepted. Governments panicked. Some launched weapons. Others hid underground. Many fled the cities, fearing apocalypse. But no fire rained from the sky. Instead, those who stood in the resonance fields, at the pyramids, the circles, the forgotten temples, they changed. Minds expanded. Fear melted. Vision sharpened beyond time. They began to glow. Elena watched as old men wept, children laughed without knowing why, and the skies shimmered like the inside of a dream. Not everyone was transformed. Not everyone could be, but the circuit had closed. The Tezcatl left no monuments this time, no machines, no symbols. They left behind those who remembered. And in the years to come, they would teach not of gods or rituals, but of balance, of energy, of how memory is the true architecture of civilization. By the time Elena's heart stopped, she had written 39 volumes, each one titled with a single glyph. None of them were published. They were carved instead into living stone, into resonant crystal, into memory. And the last glyph, the one etched into her tomb, translated simply to human. But when seen in Tezcatl light, it meant something else entirely: the becoming.